Good afternoon to you. 506 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. You can join us today, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. The National Archives is now finally admitting that there are over 5,400 emails in which Joe Biden is either the sender or the recipient, in which he used fake names to send government information to his son and others. The National Archives and Records Administration has admitted that it is in possession of nearly 5,400 emails, electronic records, and documents that potentially show President Biden used a pseudonym during his vice presidency. It was revealed on Monday. NARA confirmed the existence of the trove in response to a June 2022 Freedom of Information Act request by the Southeastern Legal Foundation, the New York Post reports, a nonprofit constitutional legal group. The request sought emails pertaining to the accounts of Robin Ware, Robert L. Peters, and J.R.B. Ware, pseudonyms the 80-year-old president was known to use in the White House during his time as President Barack Obama's vice president. Did you know that he was using these pseudonyms? Robin Ware, we had Vice President Robin Ware. Do you remember that? I don't. For more on this, let's turn to the president of Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton, who joins us on the phone. Tom, great to have you back with us, sir.
Hey, good to be with you again, Vince. Thank you.
Why do government officials use pseudonyms, fake email addresses?
Well, the innocent explanation is for privacy. The other explanation is they want to be able to engage in conduct and not have it scrutinized by the American people. We saw that with Hillary Clinton, who had a separate email account through which she conducted all of her State Department business virtually on a private system. So whether they be aliases or private email accounts, it's a way to avoid transparency and accountability.
Right, but the obligation of these government officials in a normal, version of America is that they work for the people and that they should be, they should be proud to have their government work exposed to public scrutiny. That's not what's happening here.
Well, that's certainly not what's happening here. If we didn't know about these alias accounts, even though the archives had them because they were capturing them because they were part of the system of records in the White House, you wouldn't know to look for them, right? How do you know Robin Ware is who he is, who is actually Vice President Biden, if you're looking at a document without that underlying knowledge? So even in the official documents, it masks what's happening potentially. And in this case, though, let's be clear here. They know who the emails are. It's been out there for some time that there are these alias accounts. The Southeastern Legal Foundation began asking for this last year. It's been 14 months. They haven't gotten a document. Based on what the archives has been telling the foundation, it's not clear when, if ever, they will get the documents. And now they're in federal court over it. But this is typical of the government. If you want them to give you documents due to you under law, and the archives is the archivist of the United States, the key record keeper of government, you got to sue them in federal court.
It's wild. And I should point out another detail about these email addresses that I think is very relevant. 2 of them are Gmail accounts. These are not government accounts. It's not like they were simply trying to have some privacy for the vice president, didn't want him to receive too much spam or something, and they wanted him to give him ability to communicate in a lightly trafficked email box. That's not what this was. These were Gmail accounts. Robert Ware 456 at gmail.com. You have you have JRB Ware at gmail.com, and then finally this Robert L. Peters at PCI.gov. This very unique .gov email address, and it's all built for Joe Biden to have these pseudonyms.
Yeah, I conducted a Twitter poll, Vince, and Mr. Peters is seen by most Twitter users who took the poll has the best Democratic candidate for president. So,
Mr. Peters is
on
winning.
Top of that, and who knows, right? And on top of that, though, going back to your first question, we know that some of the shady business dealings that have been in the news were conducted through these email accounts. You had some of the business dealings being sent to these email accounts that now ought to be under criminal investigation. And the other big question is, given the vice president's role as vice president, was classified information on these email accounts. We don't know. And we may not know until the year 2026.
Right.
Because depending on the records, they can keep designate records as being unreleasable or secret up to 12 years after the presidency or the vice presidency ends, which would kick it all the way for up until the next administration.
Yeah, they say that the archives say that there are nearly 5,200 email messages, 25 electronic files. I would assume those are email attachments or something, and 200 pages of potentially responsive records that must be processed in order to respond to your request. So what we have right now is just kind of a head count, according to the archives, in the number of times that these pseudonyms have appeared in their records, but we don't actually know the contents just yet, at least the ones outside of the confines of Hunter Biden's laptop.
Now, and the process in order to get those contents also includes alerting Vice President Biden, I think Barack Obama, and certainly President Biden. They get to have a say as to what's released and what potentially can be withheld. So this process takes forever and a day. We've asked for Clinton administration records that we're still getting notice that there's stuff coming up. So the releases of these presidential records are notoriously slow, and especially on something that's politically sensitive. You know, the archives it basically wants to jail Trump for delaying disclosure of records and disputing records, whether personal or president. And here the archives are hiding records from the American people for a year plus and telling the Southeastern Legal Foundation and the American people, which they also represent, they're a great public interest group, to go pound sand. And by the way, there are 28 complex requests ahead of you, so we don't even know when we'll get to you.
It's wild. And of course, the closer we get to the presidential election, the less likely they are to share any of this with us, because that's the point. The Biden-controlled archives is refusing to disclose all of this to the American public, which is a real shame. And again, more evidence of the corruption that we're all witnessing around us.
If they have their way, we'll be talking about this 2 presidential elections from now.
Yep. No question. No question. That tends to be the way these things go. Let me shift gears.
Of course, where's the special counsel on this? You know, are they hiding records? Where is Weiss looking at this? Is there a grand jury asking for records from the Biden archives for what he was doing there with his son during,
That's a great question.
The allegation is it was a racketeering operation. This is where it was likely conducted in part.
That's a great question. And again, what resource does Hunter Biden have that would enrich him? It's his father. That's obviously the deliverable. So therefore, if you're David Weiss, if you were conducting an authentic, earnest investigation, you'd be digging into these email addresses.
Well, we all know what's happening there. All these overt acts, right? The new phrase of the day, being engaged in by the Biden gang through secret email accounts, don't cause any concern for the usual suspects here in Washington, D.C. Imagine if Trump had half a dozen email accounts he was using in the White House.
And unfortunately, the media sort of gets a say in all of this, don't they? Because if the legacy news outlets decide that this is deserving of attention, all of a sudden it's treated seriously or more seriously by some of these Democrat officials. I'm looking at the front page of the Washington Times today. They've covered it extensively. They point out all of the Biden pseudonyms. They have big pictures of Biden all across the top of their front page. The Washington Post, no concern whatsoever. I just did a cursory search of the Washington Post's website. There is no coverage that I can detect of any of this. They're not covering that the current president of the United States had deceptive email aliases to cover up his time doing supposedly the nation's business.
Oh, but you will find stories about the former president's height and weight.
Right, yeah, calling into question his height and his weight. Yeah, really important stuff. Democracy dies in darkness, they say. Okay, let's talk about Barack Obama for a moment, because I know at Judicial Watch you've been digging into something that involves the people around him. We heard the news recently that the former White House chef, who went on to become a personal chef for the Obamas in their post-presidency, was found dead recently just in the water there at Martha's Vineyard, right near Obama's mansion there. There were a lot of conflicting reports coming out in those early hours. Who made the call? Was he actually near the house? Were the Obamas anywhere near him? Were they even on the island? And there are still so many questions yet to be answered here, Tom Fitton. Give us a sense of what has piqued your curiosity and what you've learned.
Well, when they don't release information about someone's death, like basic information, our curiosity is piqued, as you point out. And so we started asking questions of the local police up in Edgartown, Massachusetts, which had jurisdiction. And initially, it looks like with other police departments and agencies, retrieved the body and found the body. And then he had the Massachusetts State Police came in afterwards and began an investigation. And we weren't getting anything. And finally, we had the Massachusetts Secretary of State tell the Edgartown Police Department, look, you got to respond to Judicial Watch and other requesters, because we had appealed it. We finally got the documents. It shows it was the Secret Service who called 911 about the poor missing chef. But the Massachusetts State Police have told the Edgartown State Police, don't tell anyone who the Secret Service person is. Don't tell anyone who the other witness was, who was evidently was with this man.
Yes.
They found his clothes separate and apart from where his body was. I don't know whether he's fully clothed or not.
Right.
They couldn't find the body. They had to use sonar. Why was the Secret Service and why was the involvement of the Secret Service in making these initial calls withheld from the American people?
Yeah, what would be I don't understand what the security, like the normal explanation for why they don't give you information is like, well, we're trying to safeguard our procedures and the security of the protectee or whatever. That's irrelevant to this question. If a Secret Service agent makes a phone call to the police and says, hey, we've got a body here, somebody's got to come out, that's not a scandal, unless, of course, they're trying to cover something up.
Right, and of course, the question is, and he was a married man by all accounts. Had a family. He wasn't with his wife out on in the pond or in the body of water. And who was the witness? There's been a report who the witness was. I don't know enough about the veracity of the report to share it with you, but obviously it wasn't his wife. And so, this is today's Secret Service. If there's something that could embarrass the protectee, they'll cover it up. So in this case, you have the Obama family, an employee dies in a way that is going to be embarrassing. And rather than just say, hey, look, the Secret Service knew he went missing immediately, knew who he was with immediately, and they've been hiding it from us for now a month, and we still don't have the Secret Service documents as to what they knew and when and what they did. This is just this is such a part of the problem here in D.C. with Hunter Biden's gun.
Yes.
The cocaine, the poor guys getting bitten by the dogs. It doesn't matter. They get used and abused, and in the case of the agency, abused to cover up sometimes unpleasant aspects of what, in this case, what was happening on the Obama property. Or
right. And just to be clear about what Tom Fitton is running through, you've got in the Hunter Biden case, Hunter Biden and his father, they didn't have any relationship with the government at the time this all went down. It was 2018. Joe Biden was a former vice president at that point. Hunter Biden is a nobody. He's a civilian. And when his gun is thrown into a trash can by Haley Biden, it's the Secret Service got involved in the investigation. They went to help handle all of this. Politico reported a couple years back. And then the other piece that Tom just mentioned was this cocaine investigation that they opened and closed in record speed and said, we'll never be able to get to the bottom of this. The Secret Service has become very useful in resolving political scandals for Democrats, haven't they?
Yes, and now we have the death of an employee of President Obama, and the Secret Service evidently knew who this employee was with, the chef. Why can't we find out who it was? Some other details. Others have suggested, and why? Because it's potentially politically embarrassing, and like it or not, the American people have an interest when staff of a former president die, even in accidental circumstances, and that's the reality, and the police have an obligation to be transparent.
Yes.
And the Secret Service have an obligation to be transparent.
Sure.
It's a public matter when we lose a person.
Well, and this goes right to the point that we often hear from the left. Nobody's above the law. That's funny because if it involves Obama's house, everything gets blacked out. Like, we don't get to see any of the details. Whereas every single other person who lives on Martha's Vineyard, and these are all by and large rich and powerful people, they are still subjected to public disclosure. If they make a 911 call, there's a record of that. The people can see it. Not so with Obama. Obama gets special privileges.
Why is it a state secret who was with this chef?
Yeah, good questions.
Why is it a state secret?
As always, good questions from Tom Fitton and Judicial Watch, always digging in. Thank you very much, Tom. Good to have you today, sir. Let's go to Colorado, the source of the site of our next story. We'll be talking in a moment about all the craziness in Colorado. But first, some of the sanity from Colorado. Here's Leo on line one. Leo, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince, thanks for giving me some airtime today again. There's two forms. Well, we used to have to fill out an SF-86, which is a questionnaire for national security. Excuse me. Now it's called EQUIP, Electronic Questionnaires for Investigation Processing. This is for anybody that holds a government clearance, U.S. military or U.S. government clearance, okay? You have to fill this out. But I'm going to read the section that states penalties for inaccurate or false statements. It says, U.S. Criminal Code, Title 18, Section 1001 provides that knowingly falsifying or concealing a material fact is a felony, which may result in fines and or up to 5 years imprisonment. In addition, federal agencies generally do not grant a clearance or disqualify individuals who have materially or deliberately falsified these forms, and this remains part of their permanent record for future placement. This includes on the form names. If you use aliases or anything else, you have to disclose them. This guy continues to just skirt the law. This is when he was a senator. He was required to fill this form out and submit it through OPM, Office of Personnel Management, for his security clearance. How are we the people going to let these people continue to get away with this?
Yeah, a lot of criminality here. Thank you, Leo. I appreciate the call. A lot of criminality going on here. A lot of corruption. Of course, they won't be held accountable if there's no one to hold them to account. That's one of the issues. Coming up, I want to talk about what's happening in Leo's home state right now. Some craziness as a young man, 12 years old, decides that he's going to honor America's history by putting a Gadsden flag right on his backpack. That's a nice thing, right? The school decided that he shouldn't be in class anymore. More on that wild story ahead. Good afternoon to you. 536 here at News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us today at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. In case you're wondering what the impact is of the American left's distortion of our country's great history, look no further than this story that comes to us today out of Colorado Springs, Colorado, where a 12-year-old boy by the name of Jaden, who goes to school there, decided, and remember, the school year is just starting all across the country. He's got a backpack on. It looks like the backpack is like digital camo or something, kind of like a military style backpack. And on the back of it, he's got a number of patches. I think he's got a little sign on the back too. I think he's running for vice president of his for his class or something. But at the bottom of his backpack, he's got a little Gadsden flag patch. The Gadsden flag, as you know, is a yellow flag. It shows a rattlesnake on it. It says, "Don't tread on me." And it is perhaps the most enduring symbol of the American Revolution, of liberty. It was designed. It was designed by Christopher Gadsden. He created the flag, and Christopher Gadsden was a general in the Continental Army fighting in the Revolution. And then that flag actually flew over a the USS Alfred So it's a part of our history. It's quite literally a part of our battle against the British in the American Revolution. And the kind of thing that you'd want a 12-year-old to reflect upon, to know about, and to fondly embrace here in the United States of America. So he's got a Gadsden flag on his backpack. And that apparently set off all sorts of alarms at this school in Colorado Springs. I'm citing here from some of the reporting from a man called Connor Boyack. He is the author of a number of books, including the Tuttle Twins series, to teach young people about America's actual founding and its origins and the values that make us great. And he's reporting on all of this because he says that this young man, Jaden, is actually a Tuttle Twins reader. He was raised on these books, which is a good endorsement of the Tuttle Twins, by the way, as you hear this story. He says the school pulled him out of class and told the mother that he was being disruptive to the classroom environment. Now, the kid looks remarkably clean cut. He's got a button-up, long-sleeve collared shirt on. He's got his hair combed just so. He's clearly ready to go. You'll hear his mother say, likely in this audio, but certainly in the video, the full video, she says he's an honor roll student. He's been honor roll last year. He's going to be honor roll again this year. He's a good kid. And listen as she's speaking with the principal here about all of this. And the principal is blaming the school district, but she says that the reason why the boy can't wear this Gadsden flag patch is because it's, quote, rooted in slavery, which it's not. This whole thing is insane. But here's this insane school where the left has polluted the minds of the administrators.
Oh, here you go. Thank you.
Do they know what the Gadsden flag is? That it's a historical flag?
So the reason that they do not want the flag, the reason we do not want the flag displayed is due to its origins with slavery and slave trade. That is what was, that's the reasoning behind them. No.
Now, what she just said is a complete fabrication. There is no origins in slavery. There's no origins in the slave trade. It is a flag representative of the American Revolution. She just made that up. And if she didn't make it up, somebody else corrupted her, and they're all thinking incorrectly about this. Now, she is supposed to be the educator. She's the person tasked with imparting wisdom on these children. The 12-year-old knows more about this subject than the principal of the school.
The Gadsden flag.
The Don't Tread on Me.
Okay. Which is the Gadsden flag.
Okay. The woman doesn't realize it's called the Gadsden flag. She said the Don't Tread on Me. She calls it.
Okay. So he's what's going to happen if he doesn't take it off?
He is able to go. I was actually just telling him, like, I was upset that he was missing so much school. I'm like, so I asked if can he just take his stuff out of his bag and go back to class. Like, I just want him to go back to class. The bag can't go back. It's got the patch on it because we can't have that in and around other kids. So that's what I was trying.
We can't have that in and around first of all, what are you talking about? Around other kids. You can't have the flag around other kids. What? What are you talking about? Is it like a book that depicts hardcore pornography? Is that what you're talking about? You wouldn't want something like that close to the kids. I'd love to see the school library at this school, by the way.
And then he said you were close, so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with slavery. That's like the Revolutionary War patch that was displayed when they were fighting the British. Like,
yes, get them. Mom knows. Mom knows what's on her son's backpack, and she doesn't even have to hesitate. There's no Googling. There's no, waiting to figure out what's going on here. She's like, woman, this doesn't have anything to do with slavery. It's about the Revolutionary War. Don't you know that?
That's the revolution. Maybe you're thinking of, the Confederate flag?
Okay,
And now she's scrambling. Now she doesn't know what to do. Maybe you're thinking of the Confederate flag? I don't know. Let me give you the benefit of the doubt for 2 seconds, but what you're doing is very stupid. This is a very, very dumb idea. And God bless this mother for recording this interaction because it's deeply revealing, isn't it? If you're wondering how the left is perverting education, here's a perfect example of it. All of this talk about, the right is trying to stop people from learning real history. This is projection. It's the left that's doing this. The left is taking unifying symbols of America's great history and destroying those. The left has it out for everything. The left has it out for the American flag. They were rooting on people protesting against it. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if a year from now we come back and this school is also banning the American flag. Well, you know, it's making some of the students upset when we fly the Stars and Stripes. Here's more from there's some disagreement. Is the school principal or the director? I've heard some people refer to her as the director. But either way, she's in charge of something at that school. Here she is saying, I'm just here to enforce the policy that's provided by the district. Now, again, what you're actually witnessing is this mother has her dead to rights, and now the principal is passing the buck for the decision. She doesn't want to take the blame anymore.
I am just here to enforce. No, I am here to enforce the policy that was provided by the district. Okay. And
it's out of my hands. Somebody else told me to do this.
And definitely, you have every right to not agree with it. I mean,
because the ACLU says that he's allowed to wear that. If you go on their website, it's says in big letters.
The mom now citing the ACLU. Even the ACLU says that it is well within a student's rights to wear the Gadsden flag.
Thing is that unless there's a ban on patches, period. Like you said, there's no patches allowed at the school. You cannot display what you think or anything like that, or what cheer, or anything like that.
Now let me emphasize something. This boy is also sitting in the room with these women as they're talking to one another. He's sitting. It looks like kind of a rounded table or something. So the women are sitting across from each other. He's sitting right in between them. He is being super well behaved. He just has his hands folded. He's waiting for anyone to address him. He's kind of got a look on his face like, I know mom is going to square this lady away. Because this family, they're fighting together here on this issue, and rightfully so.
I think it's one-sided, because you allow some patches, but not other patches.
Kids have patches, other names, and the American flag on their backpacks.
Yeah.
I can't hear what he's saying precisely. I think he said other students have patches, including the American flag. And so, in other words, why are you hassling me?
That was, flown during the revolution with, I just don't understand that at all.
I don't understand this at all, says the mother. The mother continues and says, here's how we're raising him.
He takes his classes seriously. He studies. He wants to get straight A's. He did that. He made honor roll when he was here before. Yep. He intends to do that again right now, but it's hard because he keeps missing class for this. So
I understand that.
Yeah, and we teach him to always stick up for your beliefs.
He keeps missing class for this. So this is not the first time this has occurred. They keep doing this to the boy. They're harassing him because he honors America's history and actually knows something about it, as opposed to these morons who are tasked with trying to teach him.
And you're going over the revolution for 7th grade. The founding fathers stood up for what they believed in against unjust laws. This is unjust.
Okay, like I said, we're upholding a policy that was provided to us.
Coward.
Which we have to uphold.
Okay.
What a coward. What a complete coward. This is provided to us. The district told me to do this. I can't really say anything. So in the wake of this, a bunch of email traffic to the mom has now been made public by that man, Connor Boyack, I told you about before. The school is citing the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC now, as if they have something to do with a student wearing a Gadsden flag. They admitted that the flag originated in the Revolutionary War in a non-racial context. But here's what they also said in the email. However, whatever the historic origins and meaning of the symbol, that's a way of saying regardless of the actual history, it has also since been sometimes interpreted to convey racially tinged messages. Racially tinged. They can't even say some sort of full-throated, it's now racist. They're like, well, sometimes some people interpret it to be bad on a racially tinged basis. What? What are you talking about? What in the world are... So, let me see. First of all, I might need to take a phone call first because I don't want to steal this guy's thunder. I think he's got something to say on this subject. Let me take Dave in Severna Park, line 1. Dave, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, Vince. Thanks for having me.
Go for it.
The administrators are completely off base and incorrect on their history. The kid is absolutely correct, and so is his mom. But let's just play the equivalency game. They got no problem hanging up the pride flag and the trans flag in front of everybody, and it doesn't matter what objection they're going to hang it up come hell or high water.
Yeah, totally right. And so this is the point I wanted to make, Dave, and I saw you trying to get that in here, and I'm glad you did. The point I want to make on this subject is that you can see these rainbow flags all over these classrooms. I'm sure they're flying them in Colorado Springs. And if you raise an objection on the basis of the fact that that flag has now been interpreted to convey the mutilation of children, so I'd like to oppose that flag in the classroom, what are they going to say to you? They're going to tell you, pound sand, you don't get to tell us what flags fly in this classroom. But if you fly a Gadsden flag, it's totally fine.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. All right, Dave.
Absolutely.
Dave, thank you. Very smart point. I'm really grateful for your call. Connor Boyack continues here on some of the reporting. He says the director argued in the email, this is with the mother, that the flag is associated, the Gadsden flag, with hate groups and linked to a weak article in something called The Conversation, whatever that is, some blog, where they cite a graphic design scholar who claimed that some may now see, this is the quote, some may now see the Gadsden flag as a symbol of intolerance and hate or even racism. Well, some may be wrong. Have you contemplated that? Is it possible that some are wrong? Connor says, as you can hear his mom say on the radio, Jaden wanted to stand up for his non-racist beliefs. So after he was kicked out of class, he asked his mom to take him to the news station to get the word out. They declined an interview. Yeah, so there's a picture here. Apparently the mom took her boy to the local NBC affiliate in Colorado Springs to try and get this story some coverage. And they refused. They said, no, it's not newsworthy enough, apparently, when you wear a basic symbol of American history on your backpack and you're ejected from the classroom for that on specious grounds. So they say the rule that he was breaking was that he was wearing some sort of clothing or accessory that, quote, refers to drugs, tobacco, alcohol, or weapons. What? They highlighted this in the email. They said that it's a violation for that reason. That's insane. It's totally insane. Makes me feel all the better about having that Gadsden flag license plate as a Virginia resident. That was a good choice, I think. Roger in Fredericksburg wants to weigh in on that subject. Line 3. Roger, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Yeah, hi. I missed some of the stuff that was just said, so I hope I don't repeat something because I was dialing in. Yeah, so I imagine you're hitting all the same stuff. So in some states, they've been trying to get rid of the Gadsden flag where states that have that option as a license plate. I know there's been efforts here. In fact, back in I was a history major. After September 11, it became really popular. Like I saw flags on the side of the road being sold as a point of patriotism after that, right? It became really popular. But as soon as the Tea Party used it a couple times, it became, I think, considered, some people consider it racist because they thought the Tea Party was racist. But they were just opposing the Affordable Care Act, right? And I don't care where people fall either side of that. But then they started attacking the flag, the Gadsden flag, for that reason. In fact, back in 2020, I was in downtown Fredericksburg literally picking up sushi. And some guy jumps out in the middle of the street and takes a picture of the back of my car. And I thought, what in the heck is going on? I pulled over. They caught up with me. It was a whole group of young people. And there was some old dude with them, like probably their ringmaster. And they said, we have a picture of your plate, sir. I had a call with the police to tell them that it happened, but the police weren't around because they were staying away from the area. But, yeah, that's it. I mean, I just when I heard this conversation driving home, it just rung true to me because I experienced the very thing because I knew that's what – I have a Citadel sticker. I have some other – I have a Chicago Blackhawks sticker, and I thought, well, maybe they thought that was the Redskins. But I knew what it was they were taking pictures of. It's
crazy, isn't it? And you know what's wild is it's just a historic – it doesn't matter. I mean, look, obviously political movements are going to embrace the Gadsden flag because it's awesome. It's punk rock. It's just like, you can't screw with us. It's an amazing thing. But there are explicitly political license plates. in Virginia. They have license plates that are pro-abortion in Virginia. So, and I'm supposed to be scandalized by honoring American history with a "Don't Tread on Me" license plate? That's so stupid. The whole thing is crazy, Joel.
Yeah,
Roger,
I think
excuse me.
it's just a matter of time. They'll probably successfully get rid of it all over the place. I hate it because I like the historical background of the particular flag, and most like you had that in the very exchange you were playing. That most people don't even know it's called the Gadsden flag. They don't know anything about the history of it, and so whatever. It's typical.
Yeah, even if you don't know the name of the flag, I mean, it rocks anyway. When you look at it, you're like, "Don't tread on me." Yeah, I can get behind that. Roger, thank you very much. Appreciate the call. Hey, Joel, my apologies. We ran out of time. We'll talk to Joel again later this week. Congressman Andrew Clyde joins us tomorrow. The great one, Mark Levin, up next on WMAL.